Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvisheshasunivadi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13,
Hare Krishna.
The Appearance of Lord Varaha, text number 5. Śrī Śukadeva iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītaṁ sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamānaḥ munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śukadeva iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. Iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. Sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam. Sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam. prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ. prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ. praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śukadeva iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam. prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ. praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śukadeva iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam. prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ. praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Please repeat. Śrī Śukadeva iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam. Śukadeva iti bruvāṇam viduram vinītam. śrī-śukaḥ caraṇopadhānam. prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ. munir abhyacaṣṭa.
Śrī Śuka uvāca iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītam sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śuka uvāca. Śrī Śuka uvāca. Iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītam sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Matajis. Śrī Śuka uvāca iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītam sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śuka uvāca iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītam sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śuka uvāca. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, iti, thus, bruvāṇam, speaking, viduram, unto Vidura, vinītam, very gentle, sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ, the personality of Godhead Krishna, caraṇa, lotus feet, upadhānam, pillow, prahṛṣṭa-romā, hair standing in ecstasy, bhagavat, in relationship with the personality of Godhead, kathāyāṁ, in the words, praṇīyamānaḥ, being influenced by such spirit, munir, the sage, abhyacaṣṭa, attempted to speak. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, the personality of Godhead Śrī Kṛṣṇa was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. Purport. The word sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ is very significant. One who has diverse energies and activities and a wonderful brain is known as sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ. This qualification is applicable only to the personality of Godhead Śrī Kṛṣṇa and no one else. The personality of Godhead was pleased to dine sometimes with Vidura at his home, and while resting, he placed his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura. Maitreya was inspired by the thought of Vidura's wonderful fortune. The hairs of his body stood on end, and he was pleased to narrate the topics of the personality of Godhead with great delight. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitha Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Śrī-śuka uvāca iti bruvāṇaṁ viduram vinītaṁ sahasra-śīrṣṇaś caraṇopadhānam prahṛṣṭa-romā bhagavat-kathāyāṁ praṇīyamāno munir abhyacaṣṭa. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said the personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. So, here Vidura is inquiring about Manu's activities. This will lead to the narration of the Varaha Leela, pastimes of Lord Varaha, because Brahma will become little, he'll become thoughtful, and then Varaha will jump out of his nose, as we will see in the forthcoming verses. And this is because the earth got submerged in water. And so Manu is, and they're not able to procreate and give place for living entities to live. The earth is submerged in the water of devastation. So Brahma is thinking, how am I supposed to pull this out? So Varaha will appear. So here, Vidura, Maitreya, being questioned by Vidura, thinks of Vidura because he becomes very enlivened. He's like, oh, what a wonderful person you are. And when he thinks of that, he thinks of Vidura's glories, that here is the person who's sitting in front of me, upon whose lap the Supreme Personality of Godhead placed his lotus feet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead placed his lotus feet on Vidura's lap, considering it a pillow. And that is the level of affection that Krishna shared with Vidura. And thinking that he's sitting in front of such a personality, how glorious, how fortunate, how greatly fortunate am I, Maitreya feels that he's sitting in front of Vidura. And he's thinking, this Vidura is asking me questions. So, being inspired, being extremely pleased, being very inspired that he has got such an opportunity of service to such a great personality, that this personality is asking him to speak about Krishna. Then being influenced by his spirit. So very nice words here. So Srila Prabhupada begins by commenting on the first word of this, of the second line of this verse, sahasra-śīrṣṇaś. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead here, Krishna, is referred to as sahasra-śīrṣṇaś. This word appears in Bhagavad Gita also. Where? No? Universal form, yeah. Where does it come? So there it says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has many heads. When Arjuna is describing the universal form, he says, so this is very, it mimics the Purusha Sukta prayers. Sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ Purushaḥ. Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. So there, in Bhagavad Gita, and then it says Sahasra, I actually forgot the verse. I was looking around for a Bhagavad Gita, but oh, there it is. Give. This is not the often remembered verse. So in the 11th chapter, this mimics it. Yeah, let's see. Yes. So, where is that verse? Well, I'm trying to find it myself now. Okay, yes. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugapad Uttita Yadi Bha Sadrishi Sasyad Bhasas Tasya Mahatmanaha. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once in the sky, the radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Supreme Person in that universal form. Aneka Vaktaranayanam, Aneka Adbhutar Darshanam, Aneka Divyabharanam, Divyaneko Dyata Yudham, Divya Malya Dharam, Divya Gandha Nulepanam, Sarvascharyamayam Devam, Anantam Vishwato Mukham. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared all over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, and all expanding. And so then he starts offering his obeisances and okay, anyways, the word I'm trying to look for is, it came in the verse that I quoted, but then there's a similar verse, maybe it's in some other place. Maybe I'm messing things up right now. But it's the same theme that's found in the Purusha Sukta also, which is what's described in Bhagavad Gita, the universal form, which is what the demigods pray for, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has many heads, sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ. So this is, Supreme Personality of Godhead is called that, Krishna is called that. And this Supreme Personality of Godhead, this form is meditated upon by the neophytes because they want to try to realize that Krishna is present everywhere. Then one who has realized him as in the form of Paramatma actually sees him everywhere, actually sees him in every atom. So even Kamsa, in his fear of Krishna, experienced that Krishna was everywhere. That when Kamsa became very scared of Krishna, he started seeing Krishna everywhere. Literally everywhere. He woke up, he stood, he saw, wherever he looked, there was Krishna. So this is one who has diverse energies and activities and a wonderful brain. Is called sahasra-śīrṣṇaḥ. And this we also see in other pastimes. Right? Krishna expanded himself in the Rasa Leela. He expanded himself to kill the several bulls, to subdue the several bulls. And then, where else does Krishna expand? In Dwaraka, he expands for his multiple queens. So Krishna has all these wonderful abilities, and therefore Vidura is thinking, such a personality as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, placed his lotus feet on Vidura's lap. So this is actually in line with, in the Nectar of Devotion, one of my favorite books. Chapter 27. It's called, chapter 27, chapter 26, Stimulation for Ecstatic Love. There's a chapter. So Prabhupada says, some things which give impetus or stimulation to ecstatic love of Krishna are his transcendental qualities, his uncommon activities, his smiling features, his apparel and garlands, his flute, his buffalo horn, his leg bells, his conch shell, his footprints, his places of pastimes, his favorite plant, his devotee, and the periodical occasions for remembering him. So here, Maitreya is experiencing bliss upon seeing the devotee and remembering the devotee's activities with Krishna. Because Vidura is an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has participated in the pastimes. And one of the pastimes is that Krishna placed his lotus feet on Vidura's lap. So, there's some nice things here that, for instance, how devotees are inspired by remembrance of Krishna, as Maitreya is experiencing over here. Sometimes the gopis would think of his soft nails, his moving eyebrows, his teeth, which are catechu colored, from chewing pan. One description was given by a gopi to her friend. My dear friend, just see how the enemy of Agha has assumed such wonderful features. His brows are just like the brows of Cupid, and they are moving just as though they are dancing. The tips of his nails are so soft, it is as if they were dried bamboo leaves. His teeth are reddish, and so it appears that he has assumed a feature of anger. Under the circumstances, where is the chance for a young girl not to be attracted by such beautiful features and not be afraid of becoming a victim to such beauty? So, such amazing descriptions here. One other description that I wanted to read. Where is that? Okay. Some of the gopis addressed him thus: Dear Krishna, because of your adolescent age, you have become the spiritual master of these young girls, and you are teaching them to whisper among themselves. You are teaching them to offer solemn prayers, as well as training them to cheat their husbands and join you in the gardens at night, without caring for the instructions of their superiors. You are enthusing them by the vibration of your enchanting flute, and as their teacher, you are teaching them all the intricacies of loving affairs. So when the gopis remember these things, or these things are remembered, it gives stimulation for ecstatic love. Okay, I'm going to read. Okay, this is Krishna's buffalo horn. If you want to pull it up, you can. You have to scroll. It's chapter 26 in Nectar of Devotion, under the subtitle Krishna's buffalo horn. Krishna's buffalo horn. So there, regarding these instruments, there is a metaphorical statement about a gopi named Taravali. It is said that Taravali was bitten by the most venomous snake of Krishna's flute. Then, in order to neutralize the poisonous effect, she drank the milk produced by the buffalo horn in the hand of Krishna. But instead of decreasing the poisonous effect, it increased it 1,000 times. The gopi was thus put into the most miserable poisoned condition. Then the attraction of Krishna's leg bells. A certain gopi once stated to her friend, My dear Krishna, when I hear the sound of the leg bells of Krishna, I immediately started to go out of the house to see him. But most regrettably, my superiors were present just before me at that time, and I could not go out. So this is an example of a devotee of Krishna, the gopi, hearing Krishna's leg bells, or hearing Krishna's leg bells, immediately being drawn to it. Immediately. So this is all stimulation of ecstatic love, which is what is happening to Vidura here in this verse. So then, Krishna's footprints. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that when Akrura, who drove Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, saw the footprints of Krishna on the land of Vrindavan, his ecstatic love for Krishna increased so much that the hairs on his body stood up. His eyes became overflooded with tears, and in such ecstasy he jumped out of the chariot and fell down on the ground and began to chant, How wonderful is this? How wonderful is this? So, this is I'm reading all of this to give a description of the inspiration and bliss that Maitreya is feeling upon thinking of Vidura's pastimes with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna's places of pastimes. One devotee has exclaimed, Oh, I have not yet visited the wonderful places where the pastimes of the Lord were performed, but simply hearing the name of Mathura, I have become overwhelmed with joy. Why does the devotee become overwhelmed with joy upon hearing the name of Mathura? Because he becomes overwhelmed by thinking of the pastimes that Krishna performed in Mathura. Oh, this is the place he killed the elephant Kuvalayapida. This is where he transformed that hunchback woman into such a beautiful lady. This is where he was walking the streets of Mathura. This is where he fought. This was the wrestling arena. This is where he fought. This is the place. This is the place. This is where it all actually happened. So in that sense, he becomes overwhelmed. So, Krishna's devotees, this is the part that's most relevant to this verse. One may sometimes become overwhelmed with joy by seeing a devotee of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaj saw two associates of Narayana approaching him, he immediately stood up out of sincere respect and devotion and remained before them with folded hands. But because of his ecstatic love, he could hardly offer them a proper reception. So, Dhruva Maharaj is seeing the Vaikuntha-vasis, they are seeing the associates of Narayana who look like Narayana himself. They come with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. They are holding the conch, discus, mace, lotus flower in their hands. They are coming and they have come in front of Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj is thinking, these are people who are associating with the Supreme Lord himself. So then, there is a statement by a gopi who has addressed Subal, a friend of Krishna. My dear Subal, I know that Krishna is your friend and that you always enjoy smiling and joking with him. The other day I saw you both standing together. You were keeping your hand upon Krishna's shoulder and both of you were joyfully smiling. When I saw the two of you standing like that in the distance, my eyes at once became overflooded with tears. Very similar to what Maitreya is experiencing with Vidura, is that this gopi is saying, you, Subal, Krishna had your hand on top of your shoulder? Just thinking of that, she becomes stunned. How fortunate you are. And her eyes become overwhelmed. And just like the gopis, they think, this flute, the bamboo trees, they are rejoicing that our descendant, the flute, has gotten the great fortune of touching the lips and is drinking the nectar from Krishna's lips. But we gopis we're not able to enjoy this nectar. How fortunate is this flute? And is it fair that this flute gets to enjoy it and we don't get to enjoy it? So this is how this is all, they become stunned in ecstasy. Why are we thinking, why is the Srimad Bhagavatam saying these things? Because someday we should come to this platform. We should come to this platform. This is the platform. And also, next one is also relevant. Special days for remembering Krishna. There are many statements about the festive days in connection with Krishna's different activities. One of these festive days is Janmashtami, the day of Krishna's birth. This Janmashtami day is the most opulent festival day for the devotees, and it's still observed with great pomp in every Hindu house in India. Sometimes even the devotees of other religious groups take advantage of this auspicious day and enjoy the performance of the ceremony of Janmashtami. Ecstatic love for Krishna is also aroused on the days of Ekadashi, which are other festive days in connection with Krishna. So, we should also become, even if we don't have that feeling, we should try to have that feeling. Today is Ekadashi, today is Janmashtami, today is Gaura Purnima, and there should be some happiness there. Because in the mundane world, people become very happy when it's their birthday or something like that. Why? Because they're thinking of themselves. And why? Because they're influenced by the bodily concept of life. But one who is Krishna conscious becomes stimulated by things related to Krishna. So when there is Mahaprasadam brought from a deity, one should say, oh, this is Mahaprasadam from this particular deity, from Radha Govinda, from Radha Ras Bihari, from Radha Madhav. Wow, this has been personally honored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This stimulation, this is very, very important. Why is all this stated by Rupa Goswami? So that we understand, okay, this is what devotional service means. So, let me read something more. These are all just wonderful. Okay, next chapter. Singing loudly. When Narada Muni was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he chanted so loudly that it was apprehended that Lord Nrsimha had appeared. Thus all the demons began to flee in different directions. Then, crying loudly. It is described that by hearing the vibration of Krishna's flute, Lord Shiva becomes very puzzled and begins to cry so loudly into space that the demons become vanquished and the devotees become overwhelmed with joy. And then, let's see. Okay. Neglecting the presence of others. As far as neglecting the presence of others is concerned, the wives of the brahmanas who were performing sacrifices at Vrindavan left home as soon as they heard that Krishna was nearby. They left their homes without caring for their learned husbands. The husbands began to discuss this among themselves. How wonderful is the attraction for Krishna that it has made these women leave us without any care. This is the influence of Krishna. Anyone who becomes attracted to Krishna can be relieved from the bondage of birth and death, which can be compared to the locked up homes that were neglected by the wives of the brahmanas. Drooling. As an example of the running down of saliva from the mouth, it is stated that sometimes when Narada Muni was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he remained stunned for a while and saliva oozed from his mouth. So, from this we can also see how great the service that Maitreya is performing, because actually he can easily be stunned, thinking that he's sitting in front of Vidura, whose lap contains the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna. And how much sense control must he have to not want to dive his head straight into Vidura's lap, but instead think, this Vidura is asking me to perform a service for him, and I must perform the service. So this is the kind of ecstatic symptoms that a devotee experiences. And so then, this one is very nice. Wheeling of the head. One gopi told her friend, it appears that Lord Krishna, the enemy of the demon Agha, has released from his mouth a whirlwind which is acting on your head and is gradually proceeding to do the same to the other lotus-eyed gopis. So Krishna has said something, or he has blown his flute, or something like this, but something from his mouth has caused the gopi caused her head to start spinning. Her head is spinning, and so the metaphor is that Krishna has released a whirlwind, which is like a hurricane or a tornado, and this tornado has gone he's released it from his mouth and it's gone into this gopi's head, and is sending her, and that tornado is now jumping from this, after destroying this gopi, is jumping to another gopi's head, and like this is going one by one. As whatever Krishna said or whatever he has done, that message goes around. So it's amazing. These are the ecstatic pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the great Rasacharya, Srila Rupa Gosvāmī Prabhupada, has very mercifully revealed to us. And Srila Prabhupada has brought this to us in the form of the Nectar of Devotion. A wonderful book. What is wonderful? What wonderful is there's no words to describe it. So, therefore, Prabhupada is saying things here that is not found directly in the verse. Maitreya was inspired by the thought of Vidura's wonderful fortune. The hairs of his body stood on end, and he was pleased to narrate the topics of the personality of Godhead with great delight. So this is the ecstatic feeling that happens for a devotee, and we can pray that someday these kind of feelings come for us. We may have all had some reflections, actually, that I must actually state. Okay. Chapter 28. Go all the way to the very end of the chapter, to the 3rd last paragraph, beginning, or 4th last paragraph, beginning. Srila Rupa Gosvāmī further analyzes ecstatic loving expressions into 4 divisions, which are called Sattvika Bhasa. No, go further down. Further down. Yes. Okay. So, Satvika bhasa. Bhasa means what? Shadow. So, namabhas, what is namabhas? Shadow of the holy name. It's offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord, which leads to prema, but it's not prema in itself. It's not pure holy name. It's the reflection of namabhas. It's the reflection or the shadow. So similarly, you have reflections of ecstatic symptoms. These same ecstatic symptoms may appear in other people, and Rupa Goswami is explaining this. Sometimes impersonalists who are not actually in devotional service may also exhibit such symptoms of ecstatic love, but this is not accepted as actual ecstasy. It is reflection. It is a reflection only. For example, sometimes in Varanasi, a holy city for impersonalist scholars, there may be seen a sannyasi crying from hearing the glories of the Lord. Impersonalists also may sometimes chant the Hare Krishna mantra and dance, but their aim is not to serve the Lord. It is to become one with the Lord and merge into His existence. Rupa Goswami therefore says that even if reactions to chanting are manifest in the impersonalist body, they should not be considered to be the symptoms of actual attachment, but reflections only, just as the sun reflected in a dark room through some polished glass. The chanting of Hare Krishna, however, is so nice and transcendental that it will eventually melt the hearts of persons who are impersonalists. Rupa Goswami says that the impersonalist symptoms are simply reflections of ecstatic love, not the real thing. So, therefore, when sometimes we may experience such symptoms, even though we are not impersonalists, because we have not come to the purified platform, we should not consider that we have come to the platform of a person like Maitreya. That is not going to happen until we become purified of material desires. Sometimes it is found that when staunch logicians, without any trace of devotional service and without actually understanding the transcendental glories of the Lord, sit down to hear the glories of the Lord, they appear to be melting and shedding tears. In this connection, there is a statement by a devotee who addresses the Lord thus: "My dear Mukunda, I cannot properly express the glories of your pastime. Even when the non-devotees hear of your glorious pastimes, they become affected and shed tears and start to tremble." Such non-devotees are not actually melted. They are hard-hearted. But the influence of the glories of the Lord is so great that even the non-devotees sometimes shed tears. Sometimes it is found that a non-devotee who has practically no taste for Krishna and who follows no rules and regulations can by practice make a show of devotional symptoms, even crying in an assembly of devotees. This shedding of tears is not actually an ecstatic loving expression. However, it is done simply by practice. Although there is no need to describe these reflections of ecstatic love, Rupa Goswami gives some instances where there is no actual devotional service and such expressions are manifested. So, it can happen. You come into a room of crying people, you may want to start crying. It doesn't mean that you might have that feeling of crying, but it's just the overwhelming influence. And why should we understand this? Because the Sahajiyas, they mistaken this to be ecstatic love. That they call everybody together and then they try to evoke this, they try to create music, they try to create a certain environment, they dim the lights down and and they do all these kind of things. And then they start saying, okay, cry from your heart, say it from your heart and say it from your belly and say it, all these kind of things. And when you say things in chorus, you get that feeling. And anybody can do this. I mean, they do this out in the karmi world also. You have sessions where people come together in order to predicate, or your dramas, or that's what plays, especially plays are meant for these kind of things, is to evoke these feelings of ghastliness, of horror, of fear, of happiness, of all these different kinds of emotions that are evoked. That's why Shakespeare dramas are famous, because that's exactly what they would do. Is people would go in there and they would come with all these emotions. That's why people like movies and things. So you can generate these things. And just because those are generated while you're chanting Hare Krishna doesn't mean that one has come to the platform of pure devotional service. This is the point that Rupa Goswami is making. And therefore, that is why we don't, as Srila Prabhupada also, he didn't like that when a class is happening, you have some music playing in the background. When pastimes are coming, there's like, a violin playing, and the sad music or something like that, and it just evokes all these different feelings. Because it's not meant to be evoked like that. Maitreya didn't have some music playing in the background for him to think these kind of feelings with Vidura. No. So we don't do that because why? Because pure devotees and even those aspiring for pure devotional service are interested in the real thing. They know that if I have material desires in my heart, I am not going back home, back to Godhead. I'm going to, and therefore, I don't want to give myself an excuse to hide these away and act like as if I'm a pure devotee and make everything look cheap. A devotee doesn't try to make everything look so cheap. We don't want to think that, oh, my hairs are standing on end. This is what Maitreya must have experienced. No, what Maitreya experienced is not something cheap, and we don't make it cheap. In fact, one who is a real devotee, when he feels that, he thinks, this is just the same thing like the impersonalist in Mayavadi in Varanasi. He's also experiencing something. I'm also influenced by impersonalism because that's why I'm in the material world, because I wanted to be Krishna. Therefore, what I am experiencing is actually condemned. This is all nonsense. I am another Sahajiya. This is how a real Vaishnava out of humility thinks. Not that he encourages such feelings. What to speak of arranging a whole mela where the whole thing happens like that. So, and this is very common. This is the Sahajiya mentality. And therefore, such simulation of ecstatic symptoms, Rupa Goswami, while describing all of these things, as Srila Prabhupada, there is no need for him to describe Sattvika Bhas. But still Rupa Goswami does that in order to educate us as to what the real thing is. So, and therefore, devotees have to understand that the performance of Sankirtan should never become a show. It can easily become a show. Both types of Sankirtan can become a show. Nam Sankirtan and Brihat Sankirtan. Both can become show. Prasadam Sankirtan can also become a show. You can make anything into a show. You can make the whole Guru business into a show. As it has been seen. You can make everything into a show. Nam Kirtan can become performance where it just turns into a concert. And therefore, the Vaishnavas are very careful. Therefore, there is, you see, sometimes the Acharyas say you can use all different kinds of instruments in Krishna service. Other times they are restricting it. Because we don't want things to turn into a show. Otherwise, the real bliss of Kirtan will become covered. The real bliss of Kirtan will become mistaken as a cheap show of mundane emotions that are evoked, yes, that the Hare Krishna mantra, Kirtan, is so great that it can evoke these kind of feelings. Even in the heart of an impersonalist, and therefore we can understand the glories. But we don't want that thing from the holy name. Because we don't approach the holy name thinking, I want to experience bliss from the holy name. Rather, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu plays, when will that day come? What's that verse in Shikshashtakam? No. Yeah, but that Chakshusha Pravrishaitam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me. But that's the verse where he's saying that he's experiencing it. What's the verse before that? No, that's what you just said. What? Kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tava pada pankajastita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. Then, Nayanam galadashru dharaya. So, Nayanam galadashru dharaya, vadanam gadgadarudaya kira, pulakai nichitam vapugada. Kada, when? Tava nama grahane bhavishyati. When I accept your holy name, when will that day come? So he doesn't try to force it. He prays, when will that day come? That just by chanting your holy name, when I just accept your holy name, not with any musical instruments, and when the mridanga player is playing very nicely, or when the singer is having a good voice, not that time, but any time when I take Krishna's holy name, that time, when will that day come? Not that I only like kirtan when this devotee sings, other times I don't like kirtan. I don't want to attend kirtan. Because my taste of holy name is more dependent on the taste that I feel by hearing his vocal voice. The vocal cords, that's the taste, not the holy name. And therefore, what happens is some of these kirtan people, then they start singing other things. Because they have followers, they start singing other things, and the people hear other things also. They're not really attached to the holy name. Through the holy name, they have become a kirtan star. They have become a performer. And yes, the holy name, it can give everything. Holy name is the essence of everything. So holy name can bestow anything upon a practitioner of any sort. But the devotees don't want to be cheated by this. And therefore we are careful. We don't want to introduce, especially when Nam Kirtan is happening. I don't want to introduce. The same thing, book distribution can become a show. Prasadam distribution can become a show. Anything can become a show. And therefore, one should be very careful. One should avoid, one should be careful, one should try to understand, why am I seeking this? Why am I seeking this? Am I seeking this because I'm attracted to music? Or I'm attracted to the name, fame? Or I'm attracted to these things? Or am I actually interested in chanting the holy name? Am I actually offering this to Krishna for his pleasure? Or am I offering this to Krishna for my pleasure? So that Krishna can bless this. So I don't want to be considered a mundane sense gratifier. At least I want to dovetail my sense gratification in Krishna's service, which is some form of devotional service. But you're not going to go back to Godhead with that, if you're going to remain in that platform. We have to come to the platform where everything is offered for Krishna's pleasure and done for Krishna's pleasure. So, Maitreya is on that platform. Vidura, of course, is on that platform. Maitreya being blessed by Vidura, being influenced by Vidura's spirit. This is the great benediction of being in the association of pure devotees. That in the association of pure devotees, we can experience, as disciples of Srila Prabhupada experienced. He just chanted Hare Krishna, but just in that chanting, no musical, no nothing. In fact, from a musical standpoint, one can argue that there are musicians who are perhaps better than Srila Prabhupada. But actually there is no one better than Srila Prabhupada, because his singing is pleasing to Krishna and others are not. Finished. And devotees experience that bliss in Prabhupada's kirtan. And Prabhupada didn't have any fancy instruments or anything fancy. He didn't have 5 Mataji singing right behind him, that you had to have a Mataji singing next to you to evoke the bhav, No, he didn't have to have that. Prabhupada's own voice could generate that. And he did that in Tompkins Square Park. What to speak of later times. There's that recording where Prabhupada just takes over the kirtan. And you can see you can hear the bliss in that kirtan. The devotee is going completely wild. It's not a performance. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Prema Sankirtan that Srila Prabhupada came to give. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? I thought I'd actually go further on, but I didn't. Oh, that's right. That's where it is. Right. 5:11. So, but it's a little different to the Purusha Sukta. How does it go? Anyway, somebody could pull up 5:11. We can see it. That's where I saw it. I was like, man, I'm so bewildered right now. Okay, thank you. Huh?
In the meantime, he's pulling it up.
Okay. Go on.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say, like, to the point you were saying, I think we've all had practical experience. Someone, we attend a kirtan of somebody and they're like one of the best musicians, or they're like, top tier musician, and everybody's, yeah, it's kirtan, everybody's into it, but then somebody like a Purva Prabhu leads kirtan, and it's like one of the most memorable kirtans in one's life. It's really like has nothing to do with musical ability, and that can be engaged in Krishna service, but really it's like the devotion of the devotee is what like gets everybody fired up.
Yeah.
And then I also wanted, maybe you could speak on this. Well, we were discussing this maybe like a week ago about there is scope for plays, dramas, where there is Cittā to the accompaniment of music.
Music, yes. Everything is there.
Scope for kirtan
Yes.
Now it's like, we see Paramahamsas like Srila Prabhupada engaged in, for instance, dramas and plays. So I guess my question is that specifically Srila Prabhupada engaging in conducting plays and things, is this an exhibition? Is he, I guess what I'm thinking is that he is establishing Vedic culture in
Yes.
through these things. Not that he himself is specifically attracted to the medium of plays, but he's giving us.
He's attracted also. Why not? Rasikananda Prabhu, Acharyas are attracted to plays and dramas, and they personally supervised and conducted plays. So yes, I mean, such plays are enacted for the glorification of the Supreme Lord, but it is known that it is a play. It is known that it is a drama. It is known that it is. So, in that play, in that drama, all kinds of musical instruments, especially the more traditional ones, sattvic ones, they can be played. And they are meant to evoke feelings in the audience. It is designed. And in plays and dramas, you have what's called, what's the word? Allowance, some kind of allowance. You have leeway, but there's a word for this. That seems you've invented that word, but there's a word similar to that. There's some kind of there's word there. So the thing is, there you have to. So you're going to. So say there's a play that's enacting of Lord Chaitanya and his associates performing Harinam Sankirtan in the early morning hours. So they're singing Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. But then, to make it a drama, you have to add lines, characters, people that weren't there. You don't know if they were there. You have to make it look you have to make it look like devotees are going up to people's houses and they're saying something. It's not said what they're saying, but you can say it if one understands the spirit of without ruining the whole mood, not making it look mundane or something. For instance, in a Ramayana play, affection between Rama and Cittā is shown, but it should be shown in the Vedic way. Not like some girlfriend and boyfriend in Miami. Not like that. That's not the affection. But it's shown, and such feelings are evoked. Why? Because the dramas and plays are meant to enact the pastimes in order to remind people of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And over there, that becomes the offering. So then what is the problem with Kirtan? The problem with Kirtan is that Kirtan is actually meant to be worship. That this comes in Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, that anyways, I can't remember the Bengali right now, but devotees were chanting this when the deities were moved from the Ultadanga place to Bagh Bazaar. They chanted 2 lines that I can't remember right now. Bhange is how it ends. Anyways, but there, the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they sing that the Gaudiya Math, they worship. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says this. We worship the intimate rasas of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, particularly Madhurya. We worship that. So that our Vaidhi Bhakti, therefore, in that leads to Raganuga, but there is Vaidhi Bhakti. So, when we have dramas and plays, they are twofold. They help devotees remember the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. They help the characters act and live up to such character found in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And they educate the public about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord and how attractive they are. Because mundane people, so many of them, they won't read. They won't read and they don't have patience to sit and listen. But through a drama, they will sit and they'll watch the whole thing. And Prabhupada wanted that. Prabhupada was interested in especially dramas. But he wanted the people participating in the dramas to be devotees of perfect character. Because then the drama would have that effect. When they play the role of the different devotees of the Supreme Lord, by Krishna's mercy, they can exhibit and influence people. And it is very influential. It impacts people a lot. But the point is that it's clearly a performance. It is very clearly understood that even if a person in such a performance may cry or weep or show things, it is a performance. And versus when it's done in Nam Sankirtan, it could be mistaken as feelings of ecstatic devotion. Those who are audience, they may think like this. That's because they're uneducated. But devotees don't want to turn Nam Sankirtan, which is specifically worship of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, into a performance. Then where are we worshipping? Our whole life becomes performance. Performance can be part. Have a certain role where that performance is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Sankirtan is what we are meant to do day in and day out. If we turn our day in and day out worship of Lord Chaitanya into a performance, Nagati Kutokpi, where are we going to go? Okay, you can perform dramas, you can perform plays. Even if one performs plays every day, it's only a part of the day. Whereas Sankirtan is not. Sankirtan is what we do. Everything that we are supposed to do is supposed to be Sankirtan. But if we turn that, especially Nam Kirtan, which we are supposed to develop a taste for, very important. The taste for the holy name is very much an indication of where we stand in our devotional life. And if we turn that into a performance, the very measure of our devotional life is lost. So that's very important. So yeah, there's scope for these things. And we can see Srila Prabhupada himself, when did he play harmonium? For bhajan. He did sing Hare Krishna bhajan, but mostly he played it for Vaishnav bhajans. There is Hare Krishna bhajan where Prabhupada played harmonium. But he didn't want that kirtan to be turned into a performance. He was becoming increasingly concerned about this. Okay.
Yes,
Anything else?
From the Samhita verse.
Oh, yeah.
Just read the translation.
Read the translation.
Oh, the verse. I want the verse.
On the verse. Okay. Sahasra-śīrṣṇa purusha sahasraksha sahasravad Sahasra-bahur
Sahasra-bahur Vishwātma
Sahasramsha
Sahasramsha Sahasrashuhu.
Sahasrashuhu.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Yes.
And translation?
Yeah.
Okay. The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, and hands. He is the source of thousands of avatars in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands and thousands of individual souls.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes. Suresh Prabhu.
I'm just wondering by what I don't know, when we approach with caution with these things, especially analyzing a particular personality, what are the, I don't know, what is the word slip of my mind. Anyways, how do we judge them? Because we can't read their heart or their mind. They may be doing things a little bit outside of what we're used to, but we may look to like what's their sadhana, like okay, if they're chanting their 16 rounds or following the 4 regs, okay, is that person automatically, bona fide, or is it like, how do we, like, where do we go to, like, analyze that?
Personally, we have to first consider the need if we need to judge. Somebody is doing something doesn't mean that we have to have anything to do with it. They're doing something, whatever. Yeah, that's, sometimes devotees say, what do you think of this person? Like, why do I have to think of that person? Do I have any reason? So that's one thing, is that, okay, somebody's doing something, okay, do we understand the philosophy? This is pertaining primarily to ourselves. So then, and that's it. And then, first one has to find the need of judging. And then in that particular circumstance, if there is a need, then one has to see to what extent.
Yeah, I guess.
In most cases, we say some senior devotees playing. What are you doing? We're not there. We've heard recordings. Okay, we know. If the question is, can I hear the recording? Then it depends what you're trying to hear for. And it's difficult. It's difficult to judge. In this regard, the best answer is Jayadvaita Maharaj's answer. No one ever fell down by being too strict. So you won't make a mistake. If you don't hear the recording, there's no loss. If we feel there's a loss, then maybe we're attracted to it because of something else. Without any specifics, it's hard to give an answer, a general answer to this.
I guess there's a particular, the person very famous for kirtan. I don't know.
There's so many of them. Anyways, if it's better not to mention the name, then better not mention it.
Yeah.
You can keep this offline.
Yeah.
An offline question. Okay. Anything from the mothers? Yes, Mataji.
I was just trying to understand how, like a pure devotee is able to withhold their symptoms of ecstasy, because you were mentioning like Maitreya Muni, he was able to not act on those symptoms of ecstasy. And we even hear like Srila Prabhupada sometimes, he would start to go into ecstasy, but he would be able to withhold it. And so that's one question. And another part of the question is, I'm just wondering, are those symptoms of ecstasy that show up just influencing the body, if it's just a matter of controlling the senses in those times?
I didn't understand your second question. I'll answer the first one. How do they control? Well, they control by thinking of their service to the Supreme Lord. And because they give more importance to the service, they actually curse the ecstatic symptoms, as Daruka does when he's fanning Krishna. He's cursing himself because he's experiencing symptoms of ecstasy, and it's starting to affect his fanning. And he starts to curse the ecstatic symptoms, saying that I want to do the service. So that's how attached the pure devotees are in doing their service. And that's the beginning of pure devotional service. One cannot transcend the neophyte platform without becoming deeply attached to our service to Krishna. And that's very, very important, because that, you will see, is the very strong and exhibited form of advancement of pure devotees. How deeply attached they are to the service of the Guru. Other things they will not show so much. But Shastra tells that's how you're supposed to judge. How are they attached? We can judge ourselves, and we can judge the acharyas by seeing how perfectly they are following their predecessor acharyas and their guru and the instructions of their guru. So, by being attached to service, one can overcome all obstacles, including ecstatic symptoms. Yeah, second part.
It's ecstatic symptoms don't just influence the body, right? It goes beyond that.
It does influence the heart, because Rupa Goswami himself says here that eventually such impersonalists can come to the platform of devotional service. It's right here. I just read that. Said that, but the influence of the glories, the chanting of the Hare Krishna is however so nice and transcendental that eventually it will melt the hearts of persons who are impersonalists. So, it does influence the heart. That's your question. So, it as it's stated right there, it can and will influence the heart. However, without the mercy of devotees, it won't go much further than that. So, you kind of either forget about it, or... So therefore, mercy of devotees and mercy of Guru is so important. We forget even those ecstatic symptoms. It was real, otherwise we wouldn't be here in Krishna consciousness if they weren't real. So it's kind of funny when blooped devotees, I was brainwashed, I was bamboozled. Do you really think so lowly of yourself? I mean, that's why they're miserable, because they can't even trust their own. They actually believed it strongly. I was just bamboozled. Nothing was real. So it's really silly. It's really silly. But when you lose the mercy of devotees, then it's kind of like, that's where things are lost. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.